Good morning, YouTube. How are you guys doing today? Oh, I had to come on, honey, and talk about what a weekend. Wow, what a weekend, right? A lot went on politically this weekend, and I just wanted to come on and give my recap, give my commentary, give my point of view, share what I thought about some of the things that I saw this weekend with you guys. And per the title of my video, the reason why I put white people stood on business this weekend, is because they did. There were a lot of anti-Trump protests going on this weekend, as well as you've seen the 25th celebration of the Army slash Donald Trump parade going on this weekend. And we know that parade was a bust, but I was listening to the news this morning, and it said that an estimated 2%, was it 2 or 4% of the population were out protesting against Trump and what's going on. They were out protesting for democracy, and there were a lot more people protesting for democracy and against fascism, against an authoritarian government, than they were at this mess of a parade, right? Oh my God, I seen, I was cracking up when they kept showing the videos of, people at Trump's parade, and it was so quiet at the parade that the tanks were squeaking. You could hear the wheels on the tanks squeaking. It was so, it was so quiet at the parade. The parade was pretty much a flop, but that's what you get. Thank you guys for coming in. Hey, just my thoughts. How you doing? Child, thank you, just my thoughts for supporting. I really appreciate you, love. I'm trying to do something different, child, right? And so if you guys could please double tap the screen and share the video, I would appreciate it. Thank you. And so, hey, Tanya McNeil, how you doing? And so, yeah, the parade was pretty much a flop, right? But alongside that, before the parade even happened, something horrible happened in Minnesota. There was an assassination as well as an assassination attempt. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what is going on? I mean, we are living in a politically very, very volatile situation in this country right now. And it's all because of the commander in chief, if you know. So there was I think they said a 57-year-old Anglo man that went to two representatives' homes in the state of Minnesota. One of them, Representative Hoffman, and her husband, they were unfortunately unalived by this person. And another state rep and his wife was, I think her name was Hartman. I think his name is Hartman. State Rep Hoffman, I believe. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing their names. They survived, but they were pow 17 times, but they survived. And so I found that it was just shocking, But really, should I have, what? The inhumanity of it all was shocking to me, and the way that the guy gained access to these people's homes, to these state reps' homes, is he was posing as a police officer. I was like, wow. And at one point in time, he even had on a silicone mask. Right now, it's amazing that he didn't the mask that he chose was and then he probably wouldn't because he might not have gotten in, but it's amazing that the mask that he chose to put on wasn't melanated color, right? And so anyway, he unalived this lady and her husband. He tried to unalive another state rep and his wife, And I'm like, oh my goodness, right? So my condolences to the family. So all of that is going on. We know the LA riots have been going on, of course, and it was horrible. Um, and so, via those LA riots, I was watching CNN, right? And so this Hispanic woman, a Latino woman, or, whatever her ethnicity is, right? She got on CNN and said that it was black people that was doing the looting and burning in downtown Compton where they are, right? Where the riots are going on. Hey, Journey, that is a lie, right? Now we saw these people with these Mexican flags and their tattoos and all of this and all of that. Why would you blame black people for doing the looting and the rioting, and we are not even down there marching or protesting, right? So you want to have sympathy and compassion for what's going on when it comes to the immigrants, illegal or otherwise. But why would you go on and lie concerning black people being down there looting and burning cars and things of that nature when that is absolutely not true? I was like, oh my God. You see, you can't. That's why, you got black people that said, along with me, I said the same thing. Stay at home. This is not our fight, right? Then they got upset because we want to stay at home because it's not our fight. And now, I hope that no melanated person was down there, trying to, protest for them, because that's the thanks you get. You get blamed for the looting and rioting, and you weren't even down there. I was like, wow, that is truly horrible. That is truly horrible. Could you guys please double tap the screen? So anyway, I saw that. Um, but like I said, I'm glad the white folks stood on business as it pertained to the No Kings rallies that were going on across the country. They were going on in Washington D.C., places like Chicago, New York. Thousands of people came out. I saw the videos, the mainstream media. I don't know if they're trying to be middle of the road, or I don't know if they are in conjunction with what's going on at the White House. Chat, I don't know, but the representation that they were putting out was, horrible. And thank goodness for the internet so you could see what was really going on in this country, right? Because that mainstream media propaganda machine is something else, honey, right? It is something else. It won't let you know what's going on. And then some people have a problem with even cable media, especially the propagandized machine that is in favor of Trump called Fox News, right? A lot of these people, unfortunately, only listen to Fox News, right? They refuse to believe anything that Donald Trump is the greatest thing that ever walked the earth, right? During the protest, I saw some streaming video on the Don Lemon show, as a matter of fact. And it was one lady, one MAGA supporter, and she was saying that she loved Trump and she this, that, and the other. And then the guy asked her, well, do you love the country, right? And but she kept saying she loved Trump. That is cult mentality, in my opinion, right? Donald Trump clearly doesn't like everyday Americans like this woman, because he's trying to take care of via his big beautiful bill. What I want to talk about, he's trying to take away, a very vital, social economic, aid to the United, to everyday American citizens, right? Like he's trying to take away food stamps, EBT. He's trying to slash Medicaid, Medicare. He's even trying to chop up Social Security. So I don't understand how these MAGA supporters, which a lot of them clearly benefit from these social programs. How could you be in favor of a man that is wanting to cut these social programs that benefit you in order to give an even greater tax cut to his billionaire friends? So that is beyond me, but that is cult mentality. That is Stockholm syndrome. That is whatever is plain out stupid. See, there's a reason why they say there's a difference between, and we saw a very good example of the difference between white folk and rednecks and crackers. Okay, I'm just gonna have to put it that way, right? Because I've been thinking about this thing, right? I said, what's the difference between white folks, rednecks, and crackers, right? So a long time ago, especially down south, I know you heard this. they used to say there's a difference between black folks and N words, right? And so they used to say that they called black folks like God fearing, non confrontational, and all of this and all that, but they called the N words, like they want to criminalize them and all of this and all that, right? If you stood up for your rights, if you had something to say other than God is good and you can do what you want to do to us, you was put in a slot with the N words, right? So I just got to thinking, this weekend showed me a perfect example of the difference between white folks, rednecks, and crackers, right? So let me explain. Hey, Tisa, how you doing? So you seen a lot of white folks, like I said, come out and stand on business as they should because they broke it and they need to fix it, right? They'll start to rethink. But most of these people that we saw protesting in a lot of these cities, especially the big cities, right, were like pretty much like quote unquote middle class people, liberals, um, people and things of that nature, right? And then you had also had a lot of um you have a lot of rednecks. Now, when it comes to the redneck is very interesting, right? The redneck is really not for anybody but itself, but it still can be they still can be deprogrammed, if you will, right? They may have started out Trump supporters, but they're saying, hey, we don't want to be ruled by a king, so we're going to speak out against this. We're going to fight against this. And in that redneck group, you got a whole lot of veterans. A whole lot of veterans came out, and spoke against Trump, because we know that Trump set the Marines on American citizens. It wasn't only the Latinos and the people that were protesting because of the ICE raids in LA. It was He pretty much set him on everybody, right? He went over Gavin Newsom's head. Gavin Newsom was pissed, and he didn't appreciate it, of course, right? Because he overstepped his boundaries. But we know that the current president is a very petty person, right? Let me circle back around to the assassinations in Minnesota. I think that man, that Anglo man that did that to those people, I think he is an absolute Trump supporter. uh, I also think that the reason why he did that in Minnesota is because of Representative Tim Walz. Is a representative in Minnesota as well, and I think that he may have targeted Minnesota. I don't know if he lives there or not, but in particular, the fact that Tim Walz, ran beside Kamala Harris, and if Kamala Harris would have won, Tim Walz would have been the vice president, and I really feel like that had a lot to do with it, in my opinion. And so, but they caught the guy. They caught him on his form. He didn't give him a lot of pushback. Child, it was a lot going on. But anyway, but the thing I want to talk about this morning is I'm glad that an overwhelming amount of white people stood on business this weekend, as they should have. That they fought against tyranny. They let the world know that, hey, we don't want a king. A king is not needed here. We appreciate our democracy. We want to continue to be a democratic country, right? Even though Donald Trump has made this country look bad time and time again, a lot of countries are moving on, and they're not even thinking about the United States anymore. They're not taking the country serious anymore, so they're going on about business, right? Like places like Canada, they're not even worried about the United States anymore. The United States, because of Donald Trump, in my opinion, has become a mockery, right? A mockery around the world. It's a bad look. This man is clearly unhinged. Him and his whole party is unhinged, right? And it don't make no sense, and it's unfortunate because there's so much stuff going on around and going on. Like take Israel and Iran for instance. I don't believe that would have been going on had it not been for the current administration. But this is a very volatile situation. America supports Israel, and they will eventually have to step in when it comes to Israel and Iran. In my opinion, we're going to have to see, but I think that they're going to have to step in. They're already helping defend the Israelis against the Iranians. Already they're doing it, right? They're trying to help block the missiles and all this and all that. So are you going to put us slap dead in the middle of this war? Because we don't have nothing to do with that, right? So my thing is, why you all of a sudden wanting to help Israel out? It ain't because of the goodness of your heart, but you didn't want to help the Palestinians out. And so I hope the Palestinian people that are in these camps, because their homes have been destroyed, I hope they're getting a little break right now. That's what I hope, because oh my God, it's just horrible, right? They've been, the Israelis have attacked people that were trying to go to these camps and give aid to these Palestinian people, just all kind of stuff. Innocent women, men, and children unalived in these camps, unprovoked for no reason at all. America has allowed all of that, but now you want to stand with Israel against Iran simply because you don't want them to have you don't want them to be a nuclear weaponized country, right? And I can understand it, but he's absolutely not going about it the right way. It's shady. You can tell what's going on. There's a whole lot of politics going on. And I say all of that. Let me get to the crux of the situation. The reason why I say all of that is because there is more than one thing that needs to be protested about and talked about, not only on the internet, not only in people's homes, but also, in the public. Like, it was wonderful for all the people and all the thousands of people that came out and protested, this weekend for democracy, right? But what about that big, beautiful bill that's trying to be that they're trying to pass? And I think that this is all controlled chaos when it comes to Trump, because they want to pass that bill that is going to hurt millions of everyday Americans. What about the big, beautiful bill? What do you think about the current immigration protest? I just said what I thought about it. It don't have nothing to do with us melanated people. It don't. And I really know for a fact it don't have nothing to do with us now, even though they're upset with us because you got a Hispanic lady going on CNN and lying and saying that it was black people looting and causing mayhem, like burning up the cars and all of this and all that in LA, which we know that is not true. We don't have nothing to do with that. I don't think nothing about it at all. Nothing. I think nothing. Nothing. Why would you lie? And then you want people to support you. You mad because black people won't support you, but you're going to turn around and lie on them and say that they're the ones looting and causing the trouble, and they are not even, and we are not even down there. Child, please. That's what I think about it. But anyway, here's what people have to understand when it comes to this big, beautiful bill, when it comes for the fight for democracy, when it comes for Trump pretty much destroying this nation's economy, riding roughshod because he's petty and insecure, when it comes to people that don't agree with him. Um, I just, just so many things at one point in time, right? So I'm hoping white America is starting to understand the plight of the black person, right? The reason why I say that is, in the black community, it is hard for us in the black community to focus on one thing that we need to get done, because there's always so much coming towards the black community at one time. You can't just focus on one thing that you need to get done or you need to improve, because there's always 5 or 6 things going on at the same time when it comes to the black community, because something is going to fall short. Now, the reason why I say that, I liken that to what's going on right now. Yes, people should absolutely be out there protesting against tyranny, right? Against fascism, against an authoritarian government, against an all-out crazy man, right? But you also need to be out there, and it also needs to be on a consistent basis. Like, they need to take a note from the civil rights movement, right? And they were talking about peaceful protests, and they're absolutely right about that, because it would play to Trump's advantage if people would get hostile and violent, and start fighting, with the other side. We saw several agitators during these protests. I did anyway, because I was watching social media all weekend in Atlanta, for instance. And yes, even down south, there were several anti-Trump protests, and I was really glad to see that. Right, they were not as big as some of the protests in places like New York and Chicago, and even Washington. But nevertheless, there were some people, a lot of people, a lot of Anglos down south protesting against Trump. Right, so I'm glad that they are speaking up about democracy. Some of them were speaking out against how ICE is terrorizing the Latino and Hispanic and Mexican community, to the point to where Trump said over the weekend that he would pretty much take it easy on hotel workers and farmers, and restaurant workers, hospitality workers, right? Because it is affecting some of these billionaires' bottom line. That's the only reason why he said that. But then he turned around and said that he is going to increase ICE raids when it comes to some of the big cities. So I'm assuming he's talking about places like New York and Chicago, or I'm assuming, that's what I'm assuming, right? Which is going to, even further those people protest, and if they feel like they need to fight for that, okay, but black folks ain't got nothing to do with that. But we do have a right to speak up against tyranny. We do have a right to speak up against fascism. We do have a right to speak up against this big, beautiful bill that he wants to pass. Now, all of America, I didn't see any signs protesting this big, beautiful bill that Congress is trying to pass. And I think that is where the political chicanery, if you will, comes to play. Everybody's focused on democracy, as they should be. Everybody's focused on the immigration issue, as some folks should be. But I don't hear a lot of people, even online, like Don Lemon, Joy Reid, Roland Martin. I don't hear them speaking about this big, beautiful bill that is going to hurt millions of Americans, right? Millions of Americans all across the board, black, white, Latino, probably even some Asian, just across the board. Any economically depressed a family or a person, and including the veterans, right? He's even wanting to cut funding. Has already cut funding when it comes to aid for the American veterans, right? Now we already know that he doesn't respect this United States of America's military. He's once said that the veterans that died in these wars were stupid. I'm gonna say my word. He used another word, but I'm gonna say he thought that they were stupid for fighting to die for this country. But you want to set them on the American citizens, right? So for that reason, a lot of the American veterans don't appreciate what he's doing now, and they shouldn't appreciate it, because that is not the country that they fought for. They don't want to be turned against their own people. And if you are a true patriot, then you will know that the military is not for turning against its own people. That's the commander in chief doing that. So my thing is, if things were to get worse and martial law was to be invoked, and a lot of these military personnel know that it is not right, how many of them will start rebelling? How many of them will stand down? Because I don't know if you guys remember this, at the height of the Ukrainian Russian war, there were certain factions in Putin's military that turned against him, and so they turned against him. They were ready to march on Russia or whatever. And then the guy all of a sudden changed his mind and he slowed it down, right? So he was subsequently killed in a plane crash because he was pretty much, I mean, I forget what you call it, but when the military wants to overthrow the government, that's what he was going to do, right? And so I'm thinking, could that, happen? Could that be a scenario when it comes to the United States of America, if a lot of these American soldiers refuse to turn against, the American people, right? Could that be a very distinct possibility? And I think I absolutely think so, right? And so you got to watch out for all of that. But when it comes to this big beautiful bill, I heard a lot of people. I heard over the weekend, Don Lemon, like I said, Roland Martin, Joy Reid, Jim Acosta, just to name a few, right? I heard them talking about, how wonderful it was to see people protesting, against Trump and authoritarianism, pro democracy. But I didn't hear one mention of them talking about this big beautiful bill. Nor did I see any signs of people marching with any mention of the big beautiful bill on these protest signs or whatever. So like I said, just like in the black community, you have a lot of things going on at one time. You have a lot of things going on at one time right now, and I really think that if people don't focus, they're going to pass this big beautiful bill, and millions of Americans are going to be hurt by this. And I think they want to slide it under the rug, in my opinion, which is why they have so much political theater going on right now, because they know that it is not right. They know that the only people that benefit from this big beautiful bill is billionaires and millionaires, getting even greater tax cuts, and they're going to pay for those tax cuts by taking away from poor, and working people in this country. And I don't hear enough talk about that. I don't hear enough protesting, against that big beautiful bill. So if we want to have a voice, and I realize there's a lot going on at one point in time, we need to have a voice about it all, right? Just like we want to keep this country a democratic country, you also want to be aware of the thing that they are trying to slip up under your nose. And this big, beautiful bill is one of them. I would love to see more of our, internet content creators like Don Lemon and Joy Reid and Jim Acosta and Roland Martin. They have, billions and billions of thousands and thousands of followers. Why can't they? I think they need to spend a little bit more time focusing on that. Now, it is high drama when it comes to these protests this weekend, and fighting against democracy. But you also have something else going on. Now, I'm thinking, like, are they not is invested in talking about this big beautiful bill, because it may or may not affect them. So you have to be aware. There are several things going on in this country at the same time. But like I said, I would like to see them, speak about that more. And I would also like to see, it was wonderful what went on Saturday, how many people turned out, to speak out against Trump. But I think if you're going to do something like that, it has to be on a consistent basis. It doesn't have to, it can't be just one time, one or two times. You have to do it consistently in order to make a difference. We also know that there are midterms elections coming up in 2020, and I hope that people, if you are still disgruntled up with Trump, as you should be, as well as the Republican Party, you need to get out and vote. You need to exercise your vote. There were far too many people, especially in the black community, that didn't even bother to vote last time. And so when you don't bother to vote, that is a vote for tyranny. That is, you're not voting at all. Just may as well be a vote for the person that you don't want in office right now. These Republicans, they don't do nothing but pander and kiss the ring of the crazy, the mad king, the crazy president. I don't know what he got on them, especially people like the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Like, I don't even understand what's going on. They know these things are not right, and they're wanting to placate him. And I heard one during the last his first term, they said that they don't want to poke the bear, right? You don't want to get that bear upset and all of this and all that, right? But they don't even realize it, in my opinion, that Trump is nothing more than a figurehead, right? He is nothing more than the crazy person that they are setting on on the world. He's a poster child for anarchy, in my opinion. But the people behind the scenes, like Stephen Miller, and J.D. Vance, I think that they wouldn't mind him being impeached or whatever at all, and J.D. Vance to come into power, but becoming a POTUS, because I think that J.D. Vance and people like Stephen Miller are far more deadly, honestly, than Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is a very petty, narcissistic, xenophobic, old crazy man. Okay, he don't. He. I don't. I think he. Does he have Sundowner's disease? Like, what are we talking about here? He is absolutely delusional. But because he is the president of the United States of America, he is doing a lot of damage in the deep state's name, in my opinion. And so it's just a scary situation all around. But it's a shame that we as American citizens have so much to deal with at one point in time, but black people are kind of used to that. Like I said, we always get inundated with several things at one time as it pertains to our community. And so maybe the Anglos are starting to realize that, hey, we need to be speaking about more than one thing at a time, because everybody's voice still counts. And there are a lot of, and I heard, people like Don Lemon and some others on his show in particular Saturday, talking about, speaking about, black folks saying that it wasn't our fight and all this and all that, right? Really, because it's not. We didn't break it. We tried to warn folks, and now they got to fix it, right? But they were kind of dismayed because there wasn't a lot more brown faces out there protesting, against Trump. But what do you expect? Especially when you have some Hispanic woman or Latino woman lying and saying that the black people that were out there protesting immigration were the ones looting and stealing and setting the cars on fire. Now we have all seen the pictures. We seen that one picture of that driverless car that the guy was standing on, holding the Mexican flag, right? And that's another thing I got a problem with. Why are those people, upset with black people for not wanting to protest, but they wouldn't do the same for us? Were they out in masses and droves during 2020, during the George Floyd, I'm sorry, BLM protest? I mean, I doubt it. You know what I mean? And so, and also when it comes to these, mass deportations, what are they doing in the Asian community? I have heard nothing about them doing anything as it pertains to the Asian community. And that's very interesting, right? I've heard nothing about that. So if they're going to go into these big cities, or they're going to start busting in the restaurants of some of these Asian restaurants in Chinatown, like, what's the deal with that? Why they won't touch the Asians? It's just something to think about, you know. And so yeah, we just got a whole lot of stuff going on at one time, y'all. And I just want to, get on and give my 2 cents, give my point of view. But I really would like for some of these big subscribers, these big content creators, to start, telling people about this big, beautiful bill. And the fact that, in my opinion, they trying to fly under the radar to get it passed, because that is what Trump wants. And it is going to hurt a lot of people. A lot of people. It's just like they dismantled U.S. aid, and and Doge did that. What is his name? Musk, dissolved that agency, and now they said they have, life saving, food and supplies, being withheld from countries that need the supplies, and these countries are now going to be starving to death. They're going to be, dying from even more illness and all of this and all that, simply because this Doge dismantled USA. And then you turn around and wonder why the world is moving on without the United States of America. They can't take it seriously anymore. When it comes to the United States of America, we were once the superpower, right? Our word at one point in time held weight, not so much now. People are taking this country as a joke, which honestly leads us, puts us in a precarious situation. So while Trump is around here trying to have these parades that was a flop, these military parades that was a flop, because I watched some of it, which his own people really didn't even pay attention to, in my opinion, which a waste of money, a waste of what, like 45 to $50 million to put on a parade that was a flop, that nobody really paid attention to anyway. But you want to take food out of people's mouths, and much needed medicine, keep that, take those methods away from needy people that need these programs and stuff. You want to dismantle these agencies, even the Department of Education. They want to dismantle all of these essentials, when it comes to this country. But I mean, but then he'll turn around and do some political theater, right? Like get into it with Elon Musk. All under the guys are flying under the radar of getting this nonsense passed. So people is focused on one thing, but they're not focused on that, you know. And so I just want to bring light to that, and I hope that and I put these people, Don Lemon and Joy Reid and what's his name, Roland Martin, and there's just a few large content creators. I did that on purpose, in hopes that they will see it. They probably won't, but I really would like for them to talk about this big beautiful bill that they are trying to pass right now. And so break it down to the American people so that they can understand how important it is for this bill not to be passed. I think that it's absolutely amazing that MAGA doesn't have anything to say, like I said, about this bill being passed that is going to harm a lot of their people, because there are clearly a lot of rednecks and a lot of crackers, a lot of low income people that are MAGA followers, right? And that is why Donald Trump is so popular, especially like in the southern region, of the country, right? Because I sit smack dab, in Trump country, right? But a lot of people, some of these people, some of the rednecks, some of the white people, the Anglos are waking up because there were protests down south, right? And so, like I said, the white folks stood on business. They have to stand on business on a consistent basis. It just can't be one time. They got to keep fighting against tyranny, right? Because that is the only thing that is going to slow Trump and his minions down. That is the only thing that's going to work. Y'all please double tap the screen and hit the like button. I know it's just a few of you guys in here, but anyway, that's all I got. Some of my old supporters, uh, probably realize that I done changed my name. Um, I changed my name because I wanna have a different type of format. Start speaking on different types of issues. There's a lot going on in this country right now, and I'm all for escapism. You know what I mean? But when there are real things going on in this country right now, I think that we need to stand up and pay attention, right? I really think we need to stand up and pay attention, because it is a scary time in the United States of America right now. And the reason why I want to keep talking about it is because our vote still counts. And so we can if you don't want to get out, march and protest about whatever, that's fine, but please march yourself down to the voter poll during these 2026 midterm elections, and get these Republicans out of office, because they don't mean you no good. And as far as the Democrats, people need to start holding the Democrats accountable, because I understand that they don't want to be seen doing dirty work or fighting dirty or fighting at all like the Republicans do. But honey, sometimes you got to get down in the dirt and roll with the best of them. Sometimes you got to go blow for blow. Cause for right now, the Democrats is looking real weak and looking real sad. You have a couple of Democrats, really outspoken, like Jasmine Crockett. I'm very proud of her. She is part of the Black Caucus. Cory Booker, he is part of the Congressional Black Caucus. These people are speaking out. More people need to speak out. More, and it's, I mean, will it make a big difference right now? I don't think so, because the Republicans have control of the House and the Senate. But during these midterms elections, I hope that people will get a lot of these weak Republicans that are not doing nothing but kissing the ring when it comes to Trump. I hope that they will get them out of office and give those seats to Republicans, and maybe the Republicans then will start fighting back. They can fight back now. Gavin Newsom is fighting back. He's real upset with Trump, as he should be, but he's not trying to hide it. He's letting the world know that, hey, this is out of order what this man did. And what happened in Minnesota this weekend, that was out of order. And then another thing that I noticed is, in my opinion, the reason why some Anglo men, especially middle aged, even young Anglo men. I think the reason why because they always want to go around and say they oppressed, right? I became a part of MAGA because I am an oppressed person in this country. And I think what they mean by that, because they have all the opportunities afforded to them, I think that they feel oppressed because they can't go out and ride roughshod over people like they want to. Take the ice raids for instance, and then I'm gonna get off of here. These supposed ice agents running the schools and restaurants and run people down through the fields and all of this and all that. They don't show themselves. They really don't show any identification. If you have to ask yourself, hey, are these really ice agents, or are these vigilantes? That's what I want to know. Or are these proud boys? Like, what's really going on? Who? I mean, like, it's just real sketchy to me out here. I don't trust none of them. You know, and the people and the immigrants. You know, whether they're immigrants or non-immigrants or legal or not legal. You know, they really need to start trying to find out who is actually arresting these people, especially children. Right? Do you know even know where they taking these small children? Are they even ICE agents? It is now we know that trafficking is a big problem in this country, right? And you can't trust nobody. But if you can just dress up like an ICE agent and put a mask over your face and just say you ICE and you come to pick up a whole bunch of children from school or someone like that, or snatch them up off the streets, snatching pregnant women and children up off the streets and whatnot, you have to ask yourself, are these really ICE agents? And if they are, what are they doing with the children? How are they following the rule of law? Because a child can't defend him or herself, clearly, you know. And so it's just crazy all around. You know, you gotta watch. You don't have to just and look what happened with the state reps in Minnesota. One couple was unalive, the other couple was badly injured because they believed it was law enforcement at their door when it was nothing more than a vigilante with a list with a kill list, if you will. And he was wanting to continue to go down the list. That is madness to me. That is madness. Trump couldn't even show sympathy for the victims without being snarky and being petty. I was like, oh my goodness, this man is out of his mind. He can't even act like he got no sense. He has no loyalty to this country, clearly. He clearly has no loyalty to this country. But what do you get when you allow a convicted felon to become the president of the United States of America for a second time? Honey, that is white male patriarchy. That is a system of white supremacy, racism, doing its thing, honey, at its best, right? But I am glad that a lot of Anglos are realizing what's going on, and they are trying to fix it. Big on them. They should try to fix it. Because a lot of them people out there protesting, in my opinion, against Trump were some of the same people at the booth, voting him in. So they should be on the front line. They absolutely should be on the front line, you know. And so, yeah, but I hope that they be consistent. I hope that they follow the rule book, when it comes to, protesting for a long point of time, being nonviolent. You don't want to let Trump agitate these and turn them ugly because that's what he wants. He wants to be able to invoke martial law on people so that they can't exercise their right to peacefully protest. They don't want it to do that. There were a couple of skirmishes this weekend. Not nothing too bad, but still, people testosterone to get the flaring up, and bad things can start to happen, right? So, but they really, if they're going to do this, they need to do it long term, and they need to do it. They need to do it peacefully, because the world is watching, and so hopefully they also need to start pushing out content concerning this big beautiful bill, because like I said, if this big beautiful bill passes, it is going to hurt a lot of people, like it really is, and I don't want to see that, and I'm sure nobody wants to see that, but time will tell. There's so much going on at one time. I think it's controlled chaos at this point in time. I believe it's on purpose, because they are trying to do things in the government that they know that are anti-constitution, anti-American, anti-really establishment, very tyrannical, very authoritarian, very dictator-like, and that is not what this country is about. And so I just hope that people will start paying attention to the whole picture and not, uh, I'm sure that speaking about protests are way more entertaining than speaking about the big beautiful bill that he wants to pass. But nevertheless, they don't want anybody speaking about the big beautiful bill. And so I just hope that some of our larger content creators will start to do that, right? So anyway, y'all, that's all I got. I enjoyed talking to you guys this morning. Please check out my product tag bag. Please double tap the like button on your way out the door. Please share the video. If you like the content, subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna talk to you guys later. I love you in the way that Christ loves you. Y'all be safe. Bye bye. Peace.